wealthy, expensive watches and of course the Red Cross. But Switzerland is also well known for its independence. It's neutral territory and you don't see anybody fighting it out in Geneva.
Apart from the first couple of weeks of March, of course, when the world's car manufacturers converge on this famous city to do battle at the Geneva Motor Show.
Yeah, they all want to make sure their car is the star of the show. If you've got a new model and it's a hot one, then the wraps will come off it in Geneva. One new model that's kept everybody guessing for ages has finally been unveiled here on the Ford stand. No, it's not the new Escort. Its name finally is Ford Focus, the Escort's replacement. It's part of the new edge design policy that Ford have been following, and it's all swooping lines and curves. They've really radically reworked this firm favourite, and of course they've put us all out of our misery by finally telling us what it's called.
I'd like to be the first to introduce to you the newest addition to the Ford range. And I know no one here is interested in the new name. Focus. Our vision for Focus is to build from the traditional strengths that have made Escort a major player. And not only is Escort the best-selling car in Ford's history, with nearly 20 million owners around the world, but it's also been consistently amongst the top sellers in Europe and also in America.
I know the Escort was due for a facelift and it needed it, but it's been a bestseller, it really has. It's a successful car. How do you go about redesigning a very successful car?
Well, you're right, the Escort's a tough act to follow because it's been around for a long time and it's been sold very well and is well loved by its owners. And in fact, the Escort in its present form will carry on in production for a couple of years after the launch of this one. But this vehicle, really, we took a look at the fundamentals and said, how could we make a big step change versus the current vehicle in terms of things like the interior roominess. So the vehicle is quite a bit taller than today's vehicle. It's about 2 inches taller, and it offers, I would say, a very noticeable amount of improvement in interior space. And we've used that to create a different architecture, which is clearly communicated by the style of the vehicle. And following the car and the Puma and some of our more recent, I would describe them as more radical new edge designs, we've taken our signature design theme one step further and rolled it out onto this range as well.
Yeah, it is very much new edge, you just mentioned that. The thing about the other cars, in particular Puma and of course Cougar, is that they're being billed as driver's cars. Is this going to be a driver's car as well? And what exactly is a driver's car?
Well, it's going to be a very enjoyable car to drive. At least that's what we've set out to achieve, and the public will judge, but I'm fairly happy with it. A driver's car to me isn't just a car that's built for enthusiasts. The Puma is really aimed more at the enthusiast market and people who really take a lot of pleasure from driving. On this vehicle, you're talking about a much broader customer base, and so driving pleasure in this case is not just for enthusiasts and people who want to push the 2-litre version or the 1.8 version a little bit harder. It's also building confidence and security and a feeling of intuitively the car is easy to drive, forgiving and flattering even to the driver. It's kind of all feels right.
Well, this doesn't come along too often. A brand new Rolls-Royce, the first one for almost 2 decades. It's called the Silver Seraph. I still struggle with that name. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it? But it's British, it's made in Crewe, it's the new £155,000 Rolls-Royce. Under the engine, of course, is something about as un-British as you can get. It's the new BMW V12 5.4-litre engine that powers this car. There are other BMW components on it as well, so not only are BMW pitching to buy Rolls-Royce, they're actually managing to get engines, gearboxes, air conditioning systems, etc. onto the cars before they even buy the company. What they'll do when they eventually buy it, God only knows, but that's another story. In fact, everybody's getting excited about this car here at the show. I was one of the lucky few who managed to blag their way into the factory up at Crewe even before the Geneva show. I think we might have some footage of that. there's an amazing £200 million investment going on up at Crewe. And when you consider that the company is reportedly up for sale, or that an offer has been made by BMW for £250 million, 200 million spent on investment, all that investment and work gone into this new model, the real estate, probably the world's most loyal workforce, and that's all up for grabs for 250 million, allegedly. Sounds cheap to me. It sounds like BMW isn't talking about buying the company. It sounds like they're talking about getting it for nothing. It's virtually being given away if Rolls-Royce lets itself go for 250 million. Hopefully it will go for more than that. Hopefully it won't be sold at all and it will remain in Britain, in British hands, but that's another story. The car itself, well, you can make your own mind up about the styling of it, but for £155,000, well, an awful lot of money. And I've got to tell you, when I had a very brief drive in the vehicle, it was nowhere near as refined and smooth and quiet as I expected. That V12 BMW engine is pretty damn noisy. They say that's maybe intentional, but I think people who spend that kind of money on a car actually want a hell of a lot of refinement for their money. And I found myself wishing at some point that I was in a Jaguar saloon rather than a Rolls-Royce. A Jaguar saloon which costs, well, about £100,000 less or even more than that.
Another small car to have received a makeover and be unveiled here at Geneva is the Nissan Micra. This version of one of Britain's biggest selling small cars will go on sale in the UK in April, and Nissan reckon that there's a version of the Micra to suit just about everybody's tastes.
We now have 3 basic models, an entry-level one, a comfort model and a sporty one, but you can then add all sorts of different packs to that, so you can have extra comfort, extra sports, extra safety, and a city pack as well. But you can also have any colour you want as well in the range, and also a choice of engine. So now there are almost 800 different Micras that could potentially roll off the line, so we really think that you'll be definitely able to find the one that suits you best.
So if you can't, you must be an extremely awkward customer, I think.
Yeah, that's right. No, we're pretty convinced that we'll be able to keep everyone happy.
And what about pricing? Is that going to be competitive?
Very competitive, yeah. We start at about £7,700 and go up from there basically, but yeah, it's a very competitive entry level and superb package now. This is a new model, completely new interior, a different look at the front, new grille, new bonnet, and some new feature items on the outside, so it looks updated on the outside, and the inside looks cracking too, completely new.
What about warranties and aftercare, things like that?
Well, yeah, one of Nissan's strong points, obviously, 3-year warranty, 60,000 miles cover, and paint and rust warranties as well. So yeah, we're well covered in that direction.
Okay, and we don't know what it drives like yet, but if you keep watching Motor Week, next month we'll be driving one on the programme. Thanks, Graham.
Well, I know it doesn't look very beefy, but this is the new Daihatsu Sirloin. Sorry, Syrian. Who cares? It's a small 5-door compact car, you can say that again, from Japan's small car expert. They are in fact the largest manufacturer of small cars in the world. They're a division of Toyota, so that means in theory you get Toyota quality when you buy a Daihatsu product. The only problem with this car is that it's 989cc 3-cylinder engine. That's a problem to begin with. The biggest problem with this car, I should say, is that unlike other Daihatsus, it's not terribly adventurous. Things like the Move and the Grand Move, 10 out of 10 for adventurous styling. With this, looks like a bit like a cross between a Nissan Micra and a Renault Clio, and in that sense, Daihatsu are taking a step backwards.
The new BMW 3 Series has its first outing here at the show. Now from the outside it may not look remarkably different to its predecessor, but remember, the old 3 Series sold 400,000 cars last year alone. And what this car has to do is build on that success. Chris, when you first look at the new 3 Series, it doesn't look radically different to its predecessor, does it? Why was that?
Well, we're trying to show a long heritage here. What the goal of this car was to capture that unique 3-ness. The 3 is a very unique car. It's an icon. And when you're messing around with icons, you've got to be kind of careful. But at the same time, there's a certain amount of excitement, a dynamic that the 3 Series has always stood for, and that's what we looked for in designing this car. But this is a car, 3-ness means a certain ideal behind it. And when you're looking for an ideal, you can't restrain yourself. Art is like that. I mean, we like to think that we aim for art, and then it's passion that counts for everything.
So what kind of ideals do we find then in the new 3 Series?
Well, for instance, everything that the old 3 Series was, in its dreams and thinking, we tried to capture in this one. When you put the old 3 Series to bed at night, what does it dream to be? Well, maybe it wants the wheels out a little bit further, and maybe it wants those tires just stretched out a little bit longer, so it looks a little bit sleeker and a little bit more Formula One. So we tried to capture that in this car. And at the same time, the 3 has always been a very refined statement. We tried to bring the quality up to that, give it that same sort of design quality that we find in our 5s and 7s.
So do you see each car that you design as having its own individual personality? Do you sort of almost envisage a little cartoon character of it, do you, as you're designing?
Well, I wouldn't call it a cartoon character, but personality, certainly. It's when you look for the personality of a person, you look in their face, you look in their eyes. It's the same with the face of the 3 Series. This new 3 embodies more than just a nose on a face, the kidneys. It's the complete personality that we like to think comes across, but not just the front view, all the other views too.
I'd bet money on the fact that you're the kind of person who's always given your cars names. Is that true?
No, strangely enough, I haven't given them names. Only when they did something really wrong. Then I gave them a name.
You've designed some beautiful cars and some also very diverse ones. Which are you proudest of so far in your career?
Well, the real way to put that is to say I've always worked with teams which have designed beautiful cars, and I'm most proud of the team I'm working with now.
Chris, at first glance, the 3 Series isn't radically different. You're sort of building on a winner, really. But what are the changes? How has it improved this time around?
Well, I'm told that every single thing has changed, bar one item, which is the sump plug, the plug which lets the oil out at the bottom. So, I mean, it is completely different. But BMW's policy is evolutionary design. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to take those badges off the car, and if it were driving down the street, you'd immediately say, that's a BMW. So it's important that it has that family look about it.
So is it different this time in terms of driving and in the engine range that you're offering?
Well, the engines have been changed. The 4 cylinders have more power and more torque. The 6 cylinders have double Vanos. Don't want to get too complex about it, but variable valve timing, which makes it more flexible. So the engines are different. In terms of the car itself, it has many more luxury features than before. So, for example, we've got dynamic stability control. I mean, it's probably it's almost like a guided missile. You tell the car through the actions you make with the steering wheel where you want it to go, and the system does it for you. I mean, it's really a very advanced car in that respect.
So it is very much still a driver's car.
Absolutely. I think if BMW didn't produce a car if we didn't feel it was a driver's car, we wouldn't be fulfilling our prime cause.
So when can drivers in the UK expect to get behind the wheel?
First ones will come in September. That's the 318i and the 328i. The 323 follows in November, and then the 316, which will be the entry model, comes sort of spring 1999. And we have a very special new diesel engine, which is the most powerful in its class by quite a long way. That comes in June 99.
So you're going to just feed them a little bit at a time?
Well, yes, I mean, it would be nice to have everything all at once, but life's not like that, is it, Sue?
And how much can they expect to pay?
We haven't actually settled prices yet because it's some way away. We're still looking at that, and it depends very much on the specification we decide to offer the British customer, which tends to be higher than the mainland European specification. So without putting too fine a point, it'll be a little bit more than the current one, but not a million miles away.
You're watching Motor Week. No other TV program gives you more detailed coverage of Europe's most important international motor show. More news from Geneva 98 after the break.
Well, I'm one of those people that said that the old shape 911 that was recently replaced was the best car in the world, pure and simple. The new look 911, I'm not too sure about. There's something not quite right about a front-engined, water-cooled Porsche, but I have to say, the new 911 Cabrio is just absolutely stunning. Can there possibly be a more desirable convertible car in the world than this? For my money, absolutely not. And it's £75,000. Yes, a hell of a lot of money, something I'll never be able to afford for a car. But I tell you something, against the Ferraris, Lamborghinis and other supercars out there, seems like a bargain to me, and it's money in the bank. Get your hands on one of these cars, and they're going to be available sooner than you might think. They're going on sale in Britain very, very soon. I would guess that in the early days at least, this car will actually sell for a premium. So much for the old adage that the moment you drive a car off the forecourt, you lose money. get your hands on one of those and you'll probably make money from day one.
Well, Volkswagen have thought of everything. They've even got a playground which is supposed to be for the children, but it's also very good for tired journalists. So thanks for this, Paul.
Pleasure.
Well, just on a more serious note, the question that everybody, of course, wants to know in Britain is when can they expect to get behind the wheel of their new Golfs?
Well, Golfs are being built now. They're starting to come into the country in small numbers. We're planning to do a UK launch mid-May. So we should have reasonable supplies in the country by August.
Will we have the full range in May, or just part of it?
We'll be starting with 1.600 horsepower models, 90 horsepower diesels, and then the high performance versions will follow in June.
And what about the Cabrio? When will we see that?
Cabriolet will be here by June as well, yes.
What's been the problem? I mean, we saw the launch sort of last year, so why the delay?
There hasn't really been a problem. I mean, I should emphasise we've been accused of restricting supply, but last year, in 97, Volkswagen had another record year in the UK, and the year before was a record, so we're selling more and more cars. It's just that as we improve the price positioning and quality of our products, they become more desirable, and more people want to purchase them. But there has been a slight delay with the Golf. We predicted that it wouldn't be here till the spring, and Volkswagen is pioneering new ground in trying to build, if you like, mid-market cars at the quality of cars at the highest level in the market. So it's this philosophy that's increased the sales of Polo dramatically, and the Golf will be a vehicle with Mercedes-Benz type quality at the price of an ordinary bread and butter car.
And you figure that quality is definitely going to be worth waiting for the car buyers?
It's definitely worth waiting for, yes.
Well, the company with the worst music in Geneva, the worst music in Switzerland, probably the world actually, is the Mitsubishi stand. Where they got that soundtrack from, I don't know. But anyway, they've unveiled a new car here. It's called the Space Star. They already have a couple of MPVs in their range, but this is very much at the bottom of that mini MPV market where the Renault Scenic currently resides, and is probably the best example there is. This car also happens to be, as well as an MPV, a good old-fashioned, or not so old-fashioned actually, 5-door family car, you know, very much in the mould of the Volkswagen Golf or the Escort Focus. Interesting one this. It's built in Holland, so there won't be any problems with supplies. In the past, of course, Mitsubishis have had restrictions on imports from Japan for various reasons, so this one will be available in numbers. I've just spoken to the managing director. He promises me it will be very attractively priced. The other great thing about it is it has the GDI engine, that gasoline direct injection engine, which means that you've got, if you like, a petrol engine with diesel economy, amazing fuel returns. I don't care what car that GDI engine is fitted in, it's a very, very interesting power unit for anybody watching the pennies these days.
One concept that gives us a very good idea of what a production model may look like is this baby from Peugeot, the 2.0 Heart. Now, it may look like a small sports coupe. The flick of a button transforms it into a convertible with a very SLK style hood. This coupe cabriolet is just perfect for indecisive people like me. You can't choose between the Puma or the SLK. Well, you can have the best of both worlds with the 2.0 Heart. With a bit of luck, the replacement for the 205 should look something like this. Monsieur Sanjot, the 2.0 Heart that we see behind us, how likely is it that we will see this car on the roads?
Well, if the journalists and the clients and the people in Geneva say to us, it's marvelous, you have to do it, we will do it. But
it's marvelous, you have to do it.
Yes, but you know, it will last something around 2 years before we can do it.
And it will resemble this kind of coupe cabriolet? It will be the same with that beautiful folding hood like the SLK?
Well, I'm not so sure, because we will use some devices coming from the new car we are launching at the end of '98. So it will be like this coupe cabriolet, but not just like this coupe cabriolet.
And what will it be called? Will it be the 207?
You won't know the number before June, so you have to wait a little to know if it's 206, 207, 209, 202, I don't know.
Go on, tell us.
No, I won't.
Will this car, is there a likelihood that this car may be built at your plant near Coventry in the United Kingdom?
Yes, the car will be built in this plant too. The main plant will be in Mulhouse, but Coventry will build this car.
Is the Coventry plant very important to Peugeot?
Yes, of course, because it's a plant who is manufacturing 550 cars per day, and with good cost, good quality. So it's very important for us, of course.
I mean, this car will in a way replace the 205, which was the hot hatch that everybody loved to drive, very fast and performed beautifully. Will you do a hot version of this with a high-performance engine?
Yes, of course, because in Peugeot, we believe that we have to bring to our clients car of that type. And we try to do it with the 106 and the 306 GTI, with the diesel turbo too. And of course, with this new car, we will do the same.
You have very strong links with Citroën, so is there a likelihood that Citroën will produce a car with a similar name?
No. We are not very happy with 106 and Saxo, 106 and Saxo. So we will try not to have the same kind of things with the new cars we will manufacture.
Will have an identity all of its own.
Yes. Peugeot is a specific brand, and we will try to remain specific.
So you're not tempted to keep the name 20 Heart? I think it's quite cute.
Yes, but it's a bit difficult because you see it's difficult to understand where the 20 Heart is coming in the old brand between 106, 306, and so on. So we will prefer a number.
How important is the UK market to Peugeot in general?
It's a very important market for us. First of all, because we sell well in the British market, because we represent something around 8% of this market. And in terms of volumes, of course, it's very important for us. It is also important for us in terms of profitability, because our network in the UK is doing very well, and so it's very interesting for us also in terms of profitability. And you mentioned before, we have a plant in the UK. We are a British manufacturer, so the British market is also very important. And you know that with the importance of the fleet market in the UK, it's very important for us to be a British manufacturer. So on the three point of view, the UK market is very important for Peugeot.
Next week, more exclusive detailed coverage from the Geneva International Motor Show, including the Renault Zoe and the Volkswagen W12 Roadster.